Real heavy!
What's up, fellow freaks?
The boys are back.
The boys are back in town. It's this episode is going to be a bit different than what we've done so far. We're sticking to purely death metal and black metal in this episode. Spring got a little bit away from us, I think, with work and stuff. So we're going to jam in our 30 favorite albums from April and May into this heater of an episode.
And again, April and May, like it keeps on getting better every month, and getting it down to 15 for each was like damn near impossible.
Yeah, insane. So what we did was we kind of just took everything that was awesome in those 2 months, combined them, and so it doesn't really go in order of operations. Like, it doesn't go in order of release or anything. It's not like it's going to be all April and then all May. It's going to be kind of jumping around a bit, but keeps things interesting. And yeah, these are some seriously fucking killer albums that everybody should check out. So without further in the dude, who wants to go first?
I think I've been starting first recently, so I'll keep the train going.
Yeah, okay. Keep her trucking.
Keep her trucking. Okay, we're gonna start off with an absolute heater with Archspire's new album, Too Fast to Die. I will say April 10th, 2026 will live in infamy as one of the best release days of like recent memory, because we have new Archspire, new Inferi, new Immolation, and new Body Snatcher coming out all on the same day. It was like being a kid in a candy store listening to everything. Like it was such a good day. This I believe is their fourth full-length album, and it's their first album after being independent. I know they did like a big crowdfunding thing and stuff, so there was like a lot of anticipation to kind of see how they were to come up with this album. And I think that they put their best foot forward, and like the best album that they've released to date. Like, I think their last album, Bleed the Future, was probably as close to perfection as you could get with their current discography, and like having to follow that up was like no easy task. But like right from the get-go, when they're putting out like those singles like Carrion Ladder, Limit Leviticus, Red Goliath, and like I think it was just perfect examples. They were setting the tone right from the start, and I think they were the best songs on the record. I think this is probably as boundary pushing as you're going to get when it comes to just straight tech death. I guess how fast that they're playing and just the rhythm and everything like that. But to me, this album isn't as noodly like as their like kind of their formula is. I know they're leading more into like the rhythmic and melodic parts in this album too. I'm not saying it like it's a bad thing that they were going that route, but it was just kind of a observation thing. And then they got a new drummer for this album too, Spencer Moore. Stole them from Inferi, and like he was smacking those kits like they're owing him money. Like he was annihilating the shit out of those things. Like it was awesome. And again, all he put out is super solid vocal performance. Like to me, it was even more crisp and concise compared to recent albums too. Like it was everything you could think of that was perfect was displayed here. I think like if you're going through the discography, this was like the 1B to Bleed the Future's 1A. Like it's you can't pick a better album. Like they're just so good on their own. So I think the more you listen to it, the better it gets. So nothing else to say, man. It was just, you look up tech death in the dictionary, then it's gonna be this album. It's so good.
Yeah, stay tech.
Stay tech, baby.
And then seeing them live too was so fun. They're just so crazy.
And they take themselves not seriously at all. And then they play just the most insane shit.
Yeah. It's just one of those bands that you just, whether you're listening to them or you're seeing them live, you just have to just like laugh because It's just so fucking ridiculous.
And then someone's got to write it and
Yeah.
memorize it and then play it for 60 days on tour.
Yeah. Crazy.
You gotta be a different breed.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of that fateful day in April, we got Immolation's beautiful album Descent. Immolation, you don't really need to give any introduction. Hands down, one of the best death metal bands in the genre. These guys formed all the way back in 1986 under the name Rigor Mortis, and they're New York legends. They've carved their name, carved their sound into the history books, along with other, heavy hitter death metal bands from New York, like Suffocation, Incantation. But yeah, these guys, their sound is so well known for just like crushing dissonance, brutality, really dark and brooding atmosphere, and like really complex riff structures with their writing. Guitar playing is so like distinct and like uniquely Immolation. Just full of like crazy tempo shifts and crazy groove. It's one of the grooviest death metal bands I think in the game ever. But I love how they have the ability to stay like super brutal throughout their entire throughout the entire album, but yet they add like subtle melodic touches that add a lot of depth in their writing without softening the music in any way. So it's like these little atmospheric melodic touches that just kind of help the light shine through the crack, but then you're just like brought right back into the darkness. Every time I listen to them, I don't know why, I get this imagery of like bats swarming and I think it may be the fact they're from New York City, kind of like a Gotham imagery, like really dark Batman imagery, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I had a chance to listening to this album. I had a chance to go back through their epic and consistent discography, and I would say, yeah, this is probably my favorite album of theirs. It's unmistakably Immolation. The fact this band has been doing this for so long, for fucking 40 years, and continuing to push and solidify their sound like this is just insane. Their consistency needs to be studied, and there needs to be a documentary about this band. You typically know what you're going to get into with Immolation, but this album is such a mature refinement of their sound, and it is the perfect front to back listen as like a full body of work. It's not just a collection of songs that are like thrown together, but it's very much a cohesive and grand unified statement of an album, and a worthy follow-up to Acts of God, which is their previous album they put out. Ross Dolan's vocals are super powerful. There's nothing really there's nothing really genre defining with his vocals. Like, he's not doing anything out of the box. They're kind of just like the mid-range to low range, like guttural growl type vocals, but they're just crushing as ever, and they add to like that brooding atmosphere, which I really love. And then Robert Vigna's legendary guitar work and his riffs are super unique and crazy as ever. So I fucking love this band. One of my favorite death metal bands of all time, and seeing them live with Cattle Decap in Minneapolis was a highlight, one of the highlights of my life in terms of death metal.
That was such a good set.
Yeah. Just like getting tossed around in the pit with all the old boys, the guys who you can tell by looking at them, they listen to Immolation in the 90s, and they're still like just giving her. So that was so fun.
That was probably one of the most unique pits I've ever been in. It'd be like, it was either 16-year-olds messing with 60-year-olds. And I just like, everyone was just having the best time ever. It was fun just to like sit on the sidelines and just watch everybody mess around. It was like, where else are you going to get that crossover?
Yeah. All American old man push pit. Because there was the one dude that was just getting straight, like hit hard, like punched and like kicked and body checked and slammed. And he was kind of a smaller dude with like curly hair, I remember. And he's like a bulldog. He just kept going back. So it was so fun.
Oh, good days. Bring me back to that day.
Yeah. Wait, next up.
Okay, we're gonna go for 3 for 3 here with the next album that was released that day, and that's Inferi with Heaven Wept. And after you're done listening to those two albums, then you're listening to this one right off the rip. Or I'd say go first. Like it's like, I think what makes this album almost better for me than the Archspire one is the fact that you have the melodic aspect of the tech death, and it adds an extra dimension to the musical sound and like the overall composition of the album, and it's so good. I think Stevie's vocals is probably his best to date here. Like they're super dark, super brutal, and even with his high-pitched screams, like they have more depth to them in a sense. Like sometimes when you have these high shrills, they kind of lose their punch a little bit, but it's like a consistent power all the way through, and it's a true masterpiece. And the other thing too is like most of Inferi's albums were like 50 minutes plus. Not saying it's a bad thing, but it's just hard to get in and out, and then they reduced this one to like 37 minutes. So like to be able to reduce it down to that amount of time and then still be able to keep the songs full and not feel like you're cutting anything out is like, again, you got to give them their flowers for that. It's pretty awesome. Like the riffs and the song structure of this album are creative and original. Like you're not really getting any bands that are doing it how they do it. Like you have the melodic solos, and they're ripping through like some chugging guitars with like the 1-2 structure, and like different shapes and forms. And then they do it in such a way where each song doesn't feel the same, if that makes sense. Like if you listen to an Archspire album, you can kind of know what recipe that they have when they come to creating a song. You can kind of predict like, okay, when does the slower instrumental part come in, and then when did they start kicking in right into the fast ripping. Like for this album, I felt like I was on my toes the whole time. You don't know what's gonna happen next or whatever, when the pace change or anything. So that's the one thing that I really liked about it. So you like Black Dahlia, you like Summoning the Lich, you like a Legion, but just turn it up to 10 essentially, and then you got the perfect recipe for Inferi. So I think one of the best of the year so far. Nothing else to say.
Hell yeah, definitely an album of the year contender for sure. They and just like I've seen them a couple times now live, and just the nicest people ever. And
they're just nerds.
Yeah,
they're just guys who just love death metal, and what's Inferi again? Like, what's the name come from? Is it Harry Potter?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure, but it's definitely something like fantasy related, or so yeah. But their imagery, the music, it, like their whole brand and everything, it just like lines up so perfectly. And like I'm not a huge Dungeons & Dragons guy or like a fantasy guy. I mean, I probably would if I had more time, but this is the kind of music that you can appreciate while you're playing like a campaign, like a D&D campaign or something like that, because it's perfect for that. So
well, it's like you're going on an adventure each song.
Yeah, thematically it's like, yeah, you're like fighting dragons and shit, so it's pretty sick. Speaking of themes, are you guys ready to take a dive with me into an underwater nightmare?
I'm ready.
Sick. This next band is from Lyon, France. They play a savage blend of dissonant and blackened death metal, dripping in dark and abysmal ritualistic atmosphere that makes you feel like you're on a demon pirate ship on the open sea, sailing across the ocean, and there's ghosts flying around and zombie sharks pulling you deep into a sea of utter darkness. And that is Skaphos' new album, The Descent. Coming off the heels of their 2025 opus, Cult of Azura, which was one of my favorite albums from last year. This album is actually not entirely new in terms of material and written songs. Rather, it's a revisiting of songs from some of their previous albums that were reimagined, re-recorded, remastered, whatever, through the lens of their newer sound from the Cult of Azura album. Because I guess their sound had drastically changed into more of like that atmospheric blackened death metal, a little bit more like ritualistic sounding, with like more of the brutal elements. And so they wanted to like revamp old shit. But it's so great because it's kind of like a perfect accompaniment to last year's album. Last year's album, Cult of Azura, was so dark and like tribal sounding, and it only makes sense that they wanted to revamp some of the older tunes in the same, darker vibe. So it's pretty cool. This album is massive sounding. The production is amazing. I remember thinking that back when I heard Cult of Azura album, but combine the amazing production with like the dissonant and brutal guitar work, the oppressive atmosphere, and the perfect combination of both death and black metal elements, you have the perfect death metal record, in my opinion. I would compare this band pretty heavily to Immolation, actually, just with more like Lovecraftian themes and more blackened flair. So if you like kind of the groove of Immolation, you like the brutality of like some early Morbid Angel, and then you like the blackened atmospheric sound from like Behemoth or something like that. It's like if those bands got together and formed a super group, that's what this band would be. Yeah, I love this album. It's on steady rotation for me. It's a great gym banger, and will probably be on my year-end list for sure.
Mm-hmm. That cover is also sick too.
Yeah.
Like it makes me like looking at that cover and listening to it makes me feel like I'm a blue whale at the bottom of the black ocean. Yeah. It's like you don't know what's around you. It's scary and vast and heavy and everything.
Yeah.
So good.
That's funny.
Okay.
Yeah, it's such a great album. And I think it's another Transcending Obscurity release, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Yeah.
There'll be a common theme on this list. There's a lot of good Transcending Obscurity releases. Yeah. Oh, love those guys. Okay, my next album is a progressive tech death / melodic death metal band from the UK called Cognizance, and their album In Light No Shape. I felt like yesterday we were like, I think it was one of our first episodes. I think we did the best our favorite albums from 2024, and they had album, I think it's called Fantasian or something like that.
Yeah.
And that one was on my year-end list, if I'm saying that right, because I think I was really anticipating for this album, knowing that we listened to the last one pretty heavily. So I was like, you know what, I got some pretty high expectations, and like this one, I'd say was even better than what Fantasian was. If I'm doing like a comparison to this album, I'd say it's like the cousin of Heaven Wept, because there's like a lot of similarities with like their song structure, the style, like the pace of playing. But I don't think it possesses the same speed. Like, it doesn't mean it's not fast or technical. It's just that like faster doesn't mean always better, but it's just the actual structure of their sound is very similar. Vocals are super powerful, and they kind of pack like a old school death metal punch in a way. And then the drums are also a big standout for me. Like they drive the bus in terms of like their pacing and their rhythm. Everything is extremely tight, yet concise, and it's not like just a bunch of gravity blasts and double kicks throughout the song, and it's just like basically filling and becomes white noise. So I like the ability that those guys kind of are able to shift and to be able to provide such depth in their sound without having to go balls to the wall. It's a pretty impressive thing to do. Like I caught myself headbanging a few times to the album, which typically you don't do with tech death albums, because it's usually so fast that it's just like, why bother banging your head? You're gonna be off tune, or you're gonna be giving yourself an aneurysm or something like that. But like this one, I caught myself a few times, and I'm like, damn, like there's actually, to be able to make a tech death album kind of groovy is a hell of a feat. So I mean, that was a nice little surprise for me. But again, like this band and this album in general are like giving huge Zenith Passage vibes, the Faceless, and again like Black Dahlia, and Inferi also. So like if those guys are something that you guys like ripping, and for some reason you haven't heard of Cognizance, then give these guys a spin, man. You won't be disappointed in the slightest.
Hell yeah. That album got so many like good reviews and stuff on like the Facebook groups and the different like death metal groups and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really, really great. Get ready. Mine is get ready for the most physically and audibly demanding and unsettling black/dissonant death metal album so far this year. This album is not for the faint of heart, but it's insanely rewarding, especially on repeat listens. And I didn't like proactively gatekeep this album from you, but it is a Bandcamp only. It was a Bandcamp only album, and I'm on this really cool Facebook group called the Avant Void. I'm not sure if you're in that group.
That sounds familiar. I'm not too sure if I'm a part of it though.
If you're not, I'll invite you. But they post a lot of like really cool bands, not just death metal, but like black metal, dissonant stuff, sludge, whatever. But somebody posted this, and I thought the artwork was like really kind of crazy. And so the band is called Mylingar, and the album is called Oot. It's like the U with the umlaut and UT basically. Came out in April. And if you're a freak like me and you're into the most insane, boundary pushing, avant-garde and extreme metal imaginable, then this band and album will be right up that alley. I would say that this band, their sound could be found in the same grocery aisle as bands like Portal, Choir, Teton Blood, Sermon of Flames. they clearly draw a lot of influence in comparison to those bands, but they definitely hold their own distinct identity and sound. Interesting, I tried finding information about this band. You can't find anything.
They're so underground. They're literally in the ground.
They're literally under the ground. Yeah. They're from an anonymous location. Their identities have remained totally and intentionally anonymous as well. But it's widely speculated that they could be from Sweden, just with the Scandinavian album and song titles. But their description on Bandcamp is an anonymous band from an anonymous location. So, but their other discography is amazing as well. So they have a few other records on Bandcamp you can listen to, but they were on a 7-year hiatus after their last album. Then they just dropped this out of nowhere. And yeah, it's so crazy. Their style of playing is like a blend of super like angry and vicious, dissonant, unpleasant, but in a good way, oppressive style of blackened death metal that has an extreme emphasis on suffocating and claustrophobic atmosphere, kind of like choir in a way. But the ability to balance that chaos with memorable songwriting is kind of what they're all about with this album. This album is designed to not be an easy listen, but it's designed to give you chills and hallucinations while awake and violent nightmares while you're asleep. The guitars and the vocals are like channeling demons, and the vocals are just like the guy is in utter distress. Musically, it's disorienting and punishing, but the star of the show is the bass. The bass guitar is super forward in the mix, and it almost acts like a lead guitar. Bass in your face. And I love the way it's mixed that way, because most of these albums like Portal, Choir, everything is kind of just like one big wall of noise. You can't really make out what's going on, but this is much different. The way that they produced it, the albums are clear, and the songwriting is highlighted because of the mix. Like, it's really, really great songwriting. It's super compelling. It's really captivating, but also very dark and like makes you feel like you need to have a bath after. So, but yeah, super crazy album. Definitely year-end list contender in terms of this like genre. So check it out. Mylingar Oot.
Interesting. It'd be ironic if they had like that Scandinavian name and then they just were like from Africa or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Just to mess with people.
Yeah. We're from Fargo, North Dakota. Yeah, don't you know?
Oh, that'd be an all-time prank. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll keep an eye on them for sure. Oh, it's funny. Okay, speaking of Scandinavia, we got a legendary death metal band from Finland. I'd say legendary in the underground space. The band's called Devenial Verdict, and their album Old Blood, Fresh Wounds. These guys, before I even listened to this album, I didn't know they'd been around for 20 years, which is crazy. Because I think we listened to their album in 24 called Blessing of Despair, and that was like one of the most highly anticipated, kind of like gore guts, death metal inspired albums out there. Like it was a masterpiece. So again, another high bar to set to try and follow up, and I think they at least mashed it. It was very difficult to do, but so good. For someone who hasn't heard these guys before, I probably classify this style of death metal as like more of a groove inspired death metal with like some sprinkles of melodic death in there. But there's something about this album in Devenial Verdict that has like that it factor, if that makes sense. Like it feels more than just like a typical death metal record. Like, it has more substance to it. It's not like one of those pump and dump death metal records where everything sounds the same. There's no originality. You forget it, you know, an hour after you listen to it. Like you remember it sticks with you. And there's like a lot of pace changes, style changes, and variety that helps the album stand out too. Like I said, it makes more of a memorable listen, and like, yeah, it doesn't fall through the cracks. In a way, like a lot of the riffs are kind of tech deathy with like super fast staccato riffing. There's a lot of dissonant portions throughout the album as well. And it makes every album really, really special. So you can you can pick any song off the album and you know you're going to be getting something unique, something creative. You can listen to it front to back. You're also going to be getting something that's cohesive. So it's a pretty unique album in that sense, where you're able to pick it apart, but then yet have that full listening experience too. Again, like makes, like, it goes without saying, huge Immolation vibes again, especially with like the more dark and like dissonant tones to it. Some Morbid Angel in there, and then I would even say like some Nightmare similarities as well. Like kind of sounds like an interesting comparison, but it's just like that boundary pushing, kind of maybe a little bit murky in like the dissonant and death metal space. So I think it's just one of those things where you'll get it once you listen to it if you haven't already. Because what I say won't do it justice. But I mean, like, this is an album that shouldn't be missed. So just go and listen to it. Go and rip it.
Oh, yeah. That band fucks.
Oh, big time.
Devenial Verdict. Yeah. Oh. Another band that fucks is probably one of the strongest American death metal releases of 2026 so far. This band, similar to Immolation, also hails from New York/New Jersey area, and they're easily cementing themselves as a major force in modern American death metal, and that is Reeking Aura and their album On the Promise of the Moon. So these guys formed in 2019, which is kind of crazy because the members of this band are no stranger to the game in terms of death metal. It's kind of like a quasi supergroup consisting of members from other bands like Afterbirth, Artificial Brain, Thetas, and a band called Sentient Horror, which absolutely rip. So if you like any of these projects, but then you also like other modern American bands like Replicant, Discordant Meditation, Piron, or even the great Canadian Cryptopsy, then you'll love this album. It has all the trappings of the aforementioned bands. It's got the skronk, or as I like to call it, skronky tonk.
Oh boy,
which is just like off-kilter guitar work, but it has a lot of like super solid melodic, progressive, and old school death metal influences that are like perfectly crafted throughout this album, and they managed to like seamlessly blend all these influences into something that's super distinct, which is hard to do, instead of sounding just like another revival old school death metal band. This, in my opinion, is a masterclass in good and interesting songwriting that highlights the band's veteran lineup, and along with the classic East Coast death metal sound, because I feel like the East Coast has their own sound, but it also blends like the brutality and the atmosphere and super like memorable and progressive songwriting. But yeah, just album, I can't really say anything more about it other than you got to listen to it and you'll be like, holy shit. This is like a super advanced masterclass in songwriting and death metal, And if you haven't listened to it yet, you're truly missing out.
Mm-hmm.
So, really, really good album.
New York death metal for the win, baby.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
there's
want to
something
go. I want to go there and just like go to a dive bar and just listen to all the good death metal that's out in New York City. That'd be so fun.
Yeah.
Real heavy live on location
Yeah.
at Joe's Pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be something.
Sweet.
Okay, next up, we got a band, needs no introduction. I betcha most of the bands on this list have inspiration from this one band. They would not be who they are without it. It's At the Gates and their album, The Ghost of a Future Dead. I mean, out of all the albums that were released this month, I think this one is probably the most emotionally charged album. Just considering, again, the influence that they've had and Tompa and everything like that. It had a lot of anticipation going up to it. And I think it was worth it, if that makes sense. Like, these guys, everyone knew, like, even if it wasn't spoken out loud, everyone was like, okay, this is probably going to be our last album. Let's just bring our A game. And like, everyone did, like, even Tompa with his vocals. And I think I read something that he recorded these albums like a week or like a few days before he had that major vocal cord surgery. So it's basically like, fuck it, I got nothing to lose, I'm just gonna show off here. Yeah. And like, you can hear it throughout the album too. It's just like he's letting it loose, and it was fucking awesome. And then after listening to this album, I went back to listen to Slaughter of the Soul, and I think it's just basically a revival of that album, because that's like very, like, everyone's going to agree that's probably their best album. And the fact that they were able to rival this after going on that long hiatus and a couple questionable releases throughout there, and just be able to end it off like this is super, super amazing. It has
a lot of original members came back too.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. So I think that's probably where that sound was coming from. Because like the groove was there, the atmosphere, like the energy and the dynamics were all kind of like second coming of Slaughter. Like, I obviously was not born when that album came out, but it felt like I was transported to the time when we first listened to that album for the first time, and I'm like, damn, like, it's second coming of it. It's sick. And there seems to be more atmosphere and like harmonizing of this album too. Like, kind of pulls at the metalhead heartstrings a little bit, which is kind of a sick way to play with your emotions. But I think that's what also connects the listener to this album so much, is because, like, even if you didn't know the situation, you can feel it when you listen to it. It's like something dark and brutal is happening or is behind the scenes, and it's just, it forces you to be more present when you're listening. And I think it's a great introspective album. And like I said before, they're putting their best foot forward with everything. So I mean, this is probably the best send up for Tompa there could have been. So I mean, and just the band in general. So yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace to the GOAT, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there would not be metalcore without At the Gates. Especially like bands like Azalea Dying and shit like that. Like, that they would not exist, I don't think.
That whole genre probably wouldn't.
Yeah. You got to tip your hat to the GOATs. Okay. Now we're gonna get our brain drilled in by one of the best old school death metal debuts of the year, in my opinion. It's a band from Costa Rica. This album came out in May. The band is called Candarian, with their album Trepanacion. Trepanacion, I looked it up. It's an ancient surgical practice of drilling holes into your skull, which is clearly happening on the cover of this album, with the dude with the clamp on his head, and there's a dude screwing something into his skull. Pretty savage album cover. Is clearly happening with the cover, and it's also clearly happening in the music. Like I said, these guys are from Costa Rica. They play, in my opinion, exactly what death metal or old school death metal should sound like. Rotten, pus-filled, putrid, cavernous, morbid, disease-soaked, just nasty shit that causes that instant, like, scary, what the fuck. But then also, you got the groove, so you're like stank face, and you're like, should I be grooving this hard to this? Because this is actually pretty scary. But
I'm in the grocery store aisle in Sobeys.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking at me.
If there's only a way to like broadcast my Spotify onto the intercom system of Sobeys while I'm grocery shopping, I think the cops would be called immediately.
All the shelves are being like pushed over and body slammed, and it's being chucked across the store. Yeah.
This album has a pretty solid 33-minute runtime, which is like perfect for, front to back ass beater album, death metal album. But if you like bands like, Incantation, Autopsy, but even some of the more modern Costa Rican metal bands, which something's in the water over there. But there's bands like Mortual, Astropherus, Necropherum, just to name a few bands. While these guys aren't necessarily reinventing the wheel when it comes to death metal, they're executing classic death metal with, prowess and conviction, passion, atmosphere, and songwriting skill that many people, especially online, like the different death metal communities and stuff like that, are talking about this album being a real standout for our album of the year in death metal for 2026. So again, you just got to listen to it. I think this came out on Iron Fortress Records, which is a label that everybody needs to check out because they're putting out some heat when it comes to like new modern bands. And yeah, really, really cool album. You gotta check it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, check it out, or else you're getting your brain drilled in. We're gonna come to your house.
Yeah, you're getting trepanated.
That doesn't sound as bad.
Yeah.
If you're saying you're getting trepanated, I'd be like, oh, I'm getting tripped up.
Yeah,
I'm getting holes drilled in my head, but funny. Okay, we're going a little bit off the rails here. I think this could have ended up in death metal, or this album could have ended up in everything else category. If we were to do one, it's a band called Defect Designer and their album Depressants. I would call this as like an experimental avant-garde metal band, and they're from Norway. Like, and every month, I don't know about you, but like for me, there always seems to be one album that like you have to set aside your expectations before you listen to it. Like, I know there's a lot of hype going into this one, so I'm like, it's probably gonna be good, but I didn't know what to expect. So I'm like, I'm going in here with a clean slate, and I think this is the album that you have to be, because it's like I don't even like one can comprehend where to start with this album, because it's like it's so crazy and all over the place. You don't know where it falls into like the metal subgenre spectrum, because there's like blazing bathcore riffs, there's new metal groove, there's death metal blast beats, and there's like some jazz fusion, classical guitar in there too. It's just like, to name a few parts, and there's more that's in there. It's just like, it's so wacky. Like, to call it that would be just a tragic understatement. It's just odd, but it's so good. That's the weird thing. And it's like you can play all the different riffs and modalities and things like that, but then somehow it all feels cohesive. There's not like a hard stop transition between these sections. Somehow they just flow together, and it's just nothing ever seems to overstay their welcome. It's just pushing and pulling and going all over the place. It's just like a full listening experience. It's crazy. The one mistake I had with this album, though, is I listened to it at the gym. Now, I think that's the wrong place to listen to this album because of how crazy the tempo shifts are. I'm someone, when I want workout music, I want something a little bit more consistent or a little bit more predictable. And this one, I kind of got pissed off because I'm like, why is this changing all the time? Like, I hate it. It'll be hard for like 30 seconds, and then I'll go into like classical guitar, and I'm like in the middle of my set. I'm like, how can I like hit PRs when I'm listening to this? So then I'm like, I got pissed off at it. Then I came back and I listened to it when I was just driving in the car. And I'm like, okay, this is the place you need to listen to this album. You got to listen to it when you have the time to appreciate it, because it will show its colors way more there than if you're trying to, push hard or push heavy or something like that. And it's just, you have to be in the right mood, in the right place, in the right time, and you will see this album for what it is. It's just so good. So I'd say you like Imperial Triumphant, you like Igor, you like Dimalik, you like Mr. Bungle, add those together, and then add death metal, and then you got Defect Designer. So it's just, again, one of those albums you got to listen to it to understand it, but you won't be disappointed. Fucking amazing.
That was another Transcending Obscurity.
It was, yeah.
They become like this cool label where they invite a lot of the really good avant-garde death metal bands, which is like really, it seems to be like a good home for bands like that. So, but yeah, I like that album too. I thought it was really like, there's one song where there's just like clean female operatic singing, and you're like, did someone like hack my Spotify and change the music on me? And it's like, nope, it's still this band.
Like, you should have known this by the album cover. It's just like the old timey speaker thing, and there's just like colors shooting out of it, and you're like, okay, if this isn't an indicator of how trippy this album's gonna be, then I don't know what is.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna continue the journey into the crazy, creative, and weird. I'm really stressed out trying to pronounce the band's name, so bear with me. The band is called Onchocerciasis, Esophagogastroduodenoscopy, with their album Fugue, Gnawed from the Scabbed God Cerebrum. And this album came out based on that. What type of genre do you think?
Slamming brutal death metal is what this is going to be. Guaranteed.
Yeah. This album came out in April. I love this album because it pushes the boundaries of, slamming brutal death. It stands out among the herd, and they don't follow the typical formula of that genre. There's so many brutal death bands, especially modern brutal death bands, where every band just sounds exactly the same. So it's refreshing when you find a band. I love brutal death metal, especially like technical stuff. But this is an album that I could listen to over and over again, and it doesn't become like like, I don't know, mundane. It I catch new stuff every single time that I listen to it. There's two other reasons why I love this band. The first one is they're from Quebec, so go Canada. Number two, it features the ultra talented multi-instrumentalist Alice Samard on guitar, as well as a vocalist, which I'd never heard before until this project. His name is Jesse Agiomamides, and then another multi-instrumentalist who seems to do a lot of playing, mixing, and mastering with Al Samard. He goes by the Popu, and he is, I believe, from Germany originally. I could be wrong. But these guys together, three-piece, they play a blend of like brutal death metal, slam, and gore grind. But then they also wander deep into unexpected territory with like progressive song structures, dissonance. There's some tech death elements in there, which I feel like Al Samard is like really known for. But then there's like some weird experimental synth textures and some cool like layering of sounds, and then just almost straight up like doom like sections. Like there's some parts where I'm like, am I listening to Primitive Man right now? But yeah, and then the other thing is during the really heavy brutal slam parts, there are like bass drops that, you know, when like some drummers, they have bass pads live where they hit the bass pad and it's just like boom.
Like you feel it in like
you feel it. Yeah, they have a lot of that in their songs, which is it. Normally it's like, okay, come on, but it actually works really well. But I can just imagine, like, back in the day when I was a kid in high school, I had a 92 Ford Festiva, which is like a hatchback car, tiny little car. It's like, looks like a bug on wheels, 2-door hatchback. And I had the most insane sound system in this car, subs, like crazy speakers back when you use CDs and then you had to take your CD deck out when you went into the store because you didn't want anybody to steal your faceplate or your deck or whatever. And I used to play a lot of like rap or hip hop in that car because the bass was so loud it would literally rattle the windows. Like it was crazy. And I just picture in my mind listening to this album in that car with those speakers, and during those bass drops it would fucking just like shake the whole car. So that's why
you're driving a speaker is what you're doing.
Basically, yeah. I'm driving. The fact that my eardrums are still intact is like, I don't understand. But going back to the album, big highlights for me and the takeaways are the guitars, super technical, super like slammy and groovy without seeming disjointed. And then the vocals. Vocals are absolutely fucked. You have everything from like the deep inhuman growls, the monstrous gutturals, and then you've got like gurgles and frog croaks. Absolutely gnarly and unhinged talent from this vocalist and from the rest of the gang. But yeah, if you like bands like Relics of Humanity, Beneath the Massacre, Kniving, I got big Kniving vibes on this album, Devourment, and then like Lord Worm era Cryptopsy, then you'll fucking dig this album. And then also anything Alice Samard. Just look up Alice Samard, Bandcamp. All of her projects are on there, which seem like a million. She's put out tons of good shit this year already. Phenomenal artist, and yeah, really cool.
Quebec,
check it out.
That's all you need. That's a
I will not
league
say
of their
the
own.
band. I will not say the band name again. I'll just refer to them as OE.
Yep. OE Quebec band.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. It's like a running joke in the community. It's just like anytime there's a slam band or any slam adjacent band, it's just go into a medical textbook,
dictionary. Yeah.
and like flip the 2 random pages, throw a dart, and be like, okay, put those 2 words together. Don't need to know what it means. That's her band name.
Yeah.
This podcast is sponsored by Iron Image Barbell Club. Iron Image is located in Selkirk, Manitoba. It is the gym of choice for moi. It offers a whole host of fitness equipment. Your classic bodybuilding gym equipment. If you like to lift heavy things and listen to heavy-ass fucking music, then Iron Image is the place for you. They also offer spin classes and
Yoga.
group fitness classes or high-intensity cardio classes, if you're into that sort of thing. I enjoy going to the gym, lifting heavy shit while I listen to heavy-ass music. If you enjoy that as well, then you have to check out Iron Image Barbell Club. They are fucking awesome.
Okay, I got probably we're going from the most difficult to probably the simplest band names here. Death metal band from Arizona called Lago and their album Vigil. If we're saying that Archspire and Inferi are in cousins, I'm saying that the new Lago and Devenial Verdict are brothers, because both of those albums are like dissonant yet cavernous and brutal, but they kind of feel different at the same time. So they're related but not related. Like with this album, it's not as fast as you would think it would be when it comes to a death metal record. It's kind of a bit slower and chunkier. Even though that there are some like faster tremolo pick moments that kind of showcase some of that like old school death metal flair as well. It's not like at the forefront of their sound to me, and like that's 100% okay, because like I'm a sucker for like some good progressive death metal. So it's good that they kind of showcase that as well. Another thing that I love about this album is like the unpredictability of the songs. Like, you know, it's going to be cavernous and powerful and brutal, but like song structure like pushes and pulls you around, almost as if like you're in a washing machine filled with like spiked battle jackets, and like you're just hanging you're like hanging on for the ride, and you got like bumps and bruises all over your arms. It's just like you know it's going to be a brutal but unique roller coaster listening experience, and it's just it's super fun. It's one of those albums that like you can listen to, you know, you're at the gym, you got some mundane tasks you got to get done, you want a little bit of, you know, pep in your step. This is the album that you would want to throw on. It kind of seems like to fit the mood for whatever mood that you're in, and it takes a special kind of album to make that happen, in my opinion. So like similar to Devenial Verdict, you got Immolation, Incantation, Morbid Angel basically written all over it. So if you love those bands but you want something with a little bit more modern production, then I mean Vigil's gonna be that album for you. So check her out.
Yeah, that was a banger as well, man.
Go Arizona.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to Finland, with a dirty, stinky, filthy punk and crust death metal band called Unearthly Rites with their album Tortural Symphony of the Flesh. And this album came out in April, and it sounds like it was dredged out of the sewer. If you like that sound, sewer music, then look no further.
Sewer rat. Call me a sewer rat.
These guys hail from Finland. They play an infested brand of politically charged death metal that also infuses punk, crust, hardcore, doom and sludge, and even some bit of grindcore in there, with a big emphasis on the doom. Riffs are like slow and brooding and very cavernous. The production is very raw. There's a band, I believe they're from Japan, called Coffins. And then you've got, Autopsy. If you like those types of bands in terms of like doomy death metal sound, really slow, kind of down tempo, but a bit of that like punk, hardcore, D-beat, influence in there, then that's what this band is all about. Musically, it's like super filthy, dripping, oozing, bubbling, pus-filled atmosphere. It's like disgusting to listen to, actually. There's really no other words to describe the sound. But the slower, more doomier parts are cavernous and echoing. And then you have like the mid to up tempo range stuff, more like the hardcore punk stuff that's a bit more like stompy and brutal rather than just like straight up two-stepping parts. But the vocals kind of fall into more of the hardcore category in the vocal delivery style. They range between like low to mid range, but then there's some like raspier, but they're kind of like sickening kind of highs. Like the guy's got like phlegm constantly. It's just, the whole album is just fucking nasty. But that's one of the reasons why I like it so much, because it's like raw, it's pissed off, and lyrically it's very reminiscent of the times that we're living in right now. People, I feel like in general, are just fucking pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
And this music is like the art imitating real life. Plus it combines so many of the elements that I really like in this type of music. So yeah, can't say anything more. If you want to get fucking pissed off and listen to some raw, disgusting shit, then Unearthly Rites is right up your dark alley.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Salute to this legend, to the everything else.
Hell yeah.
Okay, now we got the first one-man project of the show this evening, from Turkey this time. And this project is called Drain of Impurity, and the album The Dark Ascension of the Supreme Prometheus Gods. Again, gun to your head, what band or what genre is this?
Country folk.
You would be surprisingly not correct.
Brutal death metal.
Absolutely. Oh, that's what we need. We need a country slam album, and then it's just like you don't know which way it's going.
Yeah.
Oh, so I think if there was a metal dictionary and you looked under brutal death metal to find what the definition of this genre would be, this album would be used as the example, because it's just that good. Because to make a brutal death metal album, you need tight ass snare, you need toilet bowl vocals, you need a ridiculous amount of pinch harmonics, you need to sing about gore, blood, and violence, and you need to play each song for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and you have the perfect recipe for a brutal death metal. And this album has all of those things in spades. So you know it's gonna be good. Like you can just look as the checklist. If an album has those 5 things, you know it's gonna be a banger.
Check.
Yep. And one guy who has been doing this since 2000. Check.
Nice.
He's a part of 7 bands. Check.
Wow.
So his name is Batu Setin. I'm probably saying that wrong, but he's like the Brendan Sloan of Turkey. He's just in everything and everything. And like, yeah, he's just all over the place, and it's awesome. There's like how I describe this album is like it's the early 2000s aesthetic of brutal death metal, like just with the super cursive and super like faded out logos, like the ones where like the edges of the logos are like kind of fading away essentially. Yeah. Like it's just the tone, it's the sound, it's just like in my opinion, it's the best era of brutal death metal. Like the Disgorge and the early Putridity albums, like that era is just chef's kiss, and that's exactly what you're getting here. So I think he's doing God's work here, and he's passing this on to the new generation, being like, you should have lived in my day when these guys were releasing albums like this all the time, but they're not. So he's just doing the heavy lifting for everybody. So you know, you got some pent up anger, you want to go hit some PRs in the gym or just have a fun sing along song in the car, then I mean, this is the album that you're gonna put onto the full volume. So certified hit classic in this one.
That's sick.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna switch it up here a little bit in terms of genre. Going black. I'm going back into blackened death metal. This time with a little bit more of a dissonant type of flair. Also going back to France. This band is called Towering with their album The Oblation of Man. A lot of Immolation references this these couple months, April, May. But if you like Immolation and Ulcerate, if they had like a blackened, charred baby, like if they gave birth to it in a fire, that's what this would sound.
You're like wiping the ashes off of this kid.
Yeah. Dissonant blackened death metal, but like huge emphasis on atmosphere. Not an easy listen. You know, it's got a lot of groove, which kind of like keeps you engaged throughout this whole album. The drumming is phenomenal on this. Intense blast beats, crazy tempo shifts, really sick double kick work with the drums. This drummer is a machine. I don't know what his name is, but I think he goes by Mortem or something like that. Classic black metal names. But this album has like really strong dynamics. It has the ability to shift between like atmosphere, like crazy atmospheric passages, and like really aggressive, angry sections of the music. Vocal delivery is like really top-notch black metal vocals, but kind of more of the mid-range style rather than like the high kind of style. But it's a really dense, thick album. It takes a lot of concentration. It's definitely meant to be listened to in full. But when you do, you're kind of rewarded because you hear different things on repeat listens when you go back to it. So it reveals a little bit more and a little bit more detail the more you listen to it. So if you enjoy like dark, atmospheric, and aggressive, moody death metal, then this one should do it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all those moody people from France that got an attitude.
Yeah.
Then they're like, you know what, we're just gonna put this out and make music out of it. So they're just probably it's probably their stress reliever. They just want to stop being so angry.
Yeah. Stop yelling. Stop getting mad at the fact that your cheese, like, what is there to get mad about? Your cheese is great. The wine is great. Your food is great. Like, just think you're better than me?
Yeah. Stop shitting in the streets. That's why they're pissed, because people are shitting and pissing in the streets. They're gonna revolt.
Yeah.
Oh well. Boy. Don't go to Paris. Or do go to Paris. Do what you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go to Paris, but then we're gonna take a quick train ride over to Sweden, and then we're gonna listen to the boys in Vomitory and their album In Death Throes. Like, I don't know what it is over in Sweden in the water there, but there just seems to be something that allows death metal bands to just stay in the scene forever, and they just like do not die. They just don't take breaks. They just go. And these guys have been around since '89, and this is their 9th full-length album to date. So they're still kicking around. They're still doing their thing, and it kind of surprised me because this is the first album I've ever listened to them. And at the start, I was thinking like these guys could have been a bunch of young kids. Like I didn't think anything wrong. Like the speed, the brutality, and like the cohesiveness just felt like this was, you know, guys in their mid to late 20s. And then you do some more research and you're like, oh, these are some old boys that have been around and have experienced some shit. And you're like, they're fucking tight. It's amazing. Like this is about as old school death metal as you're gonna get with this album. Like it's just 37 minutes, all killer, no filler, guitar work, groovy riffs, crazy intensity, powerful vocals, and it just ties everything together. Those vocals just like a bow on Christmas on all the Christmas presents. It's just like it's perfect. Like it's as crazy as it sounds with a lot of older band members, it's like they have the maturity in their voice and in their sound. It's like a bodybuilder who works out for 10 years and then steps on stage. They have like the muscle maturity. They have like the muscle maturity in their voice, if that makes sense. It just has that substance, and it's really cool. Another thing I love about this album is that production is absolutely top tier. Like it's not trying to be grimy or gross, but there's just staying true to clean production, instrumentation. You can pick apart all the instruments clearly if you listen hard enough. But again, they're not sacrificing any intensity or speed or brutality or anything like that. Because a lot of these older death metal bands, I feel like they're trying to relive the glory days. So then they're trying to replicate that same production from, you know, back in the mid 90s or something like that. And then they play it out now and it just turns out to be just a soup. Like it's just all over the place. So they were very tight. They're with the times. It's pretty impressive to see. So, you like some other death metal bands such as Bloodbath, Vader, another legendary Swedish band, Dismember, then these guys will be right up your alley if you haven't heard of them already. So won't disappoint.
Sick.
Absolutely.
You went old school. I'm going new school. So this album is one that was really highly anticipated for me for 2026. And it's one of those albums that didn't disappoint. These guys are young fellas from Chicago. The band is called Nequiant with their album Avarice. I got into this band when they put out the previous album back in 2022 called Darker Than Death or Night. And one thing I like about them is they play a style of metal that I would say if I was to wave a magic wand and be like, okay, I want to be in a band, this is like the type of band that I would be happy and proud to be in, because you can tell they're all like really great musicians. They all come from different backgrounds in terms of like genres and styles. You can hear it in the music, but they seamlessly blend together genres like death metal, progressive metal, thrash, mathcore, grind, sludge, noise, mathcore, whatever, into one giant slurpee of savagery. But without sounding too disjointed, they have the ability through their skilled musicianship to still create like very well written, well thought out and intentional songs, even though stylistically it's shifting between genres all over the place. Like you can't really pin it down. I put it in death metal because the formula is very death metal, but one thing I love about it is it keeps you on your toes the whole time. It's got tons of odd riffs, very abrupt tempo shifts, but it's like super stylistic. There's a lot of like left turns, you know, right hook, left hook, you know, you're just getting like, oh fuck, this is crazy. But yeah, nothing seems forced, random, or out of place. Like it's just really well done. And much like a lot of the other releases that seem to come out in April and May, lyrically, this album also has a very overt social and political focus, which makes it kind of punk rock in a way. The lyrics tackle everything from economic inequality, political corruption, religious extremism, technology, greed, conspiracy theories. The two, I would say, big standouts for me with this album are the guitar work and the drumming. The way that this guitarist can seamlessly shift between, you know, grindcore, death metal, thrash, noise rock, and like crazy tremolo picking is just like insane. Such a fucking tight guitarist. The drumming, same thing, kind of similar to what the guitar is doing. Like how the drummer is able to maintain just the sheer momentum. It's like if you were on, you know, one of those rides at the fair where you're strapped up against the wall and you're getting spun around and you know, you're getting pulled. Imagine that, but then it just stops and then it just goes back again. You know, that's what this album is like.
I'd throw up.
Yeah. So how these musicians are able to play that way, constant shifts, you know, the momentum of everything, it's mind-blowing. But all in all, super solid album. You need to check these guys out. Definitely won't be disappointed. It's a fun listen musically. And if you're into mathcore, you're into thrash, you're into sludge, grind, all the above, like, you'll fucking love it. So really, really cool band, cool album. Check them out.
Help them stand out, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Sick. Okay, I got something less creative in this sense, more straight death metal, straight modern death metal. Band called Frozen Soul from Texas, and their album No Place of Warmth. Now, these guys are like one of those bands I feel like that are like bringing back the glory days of like 90s style death metal, but with the melodic leads, the black metal-esque ambience, and like the HM2 adjacent guitar tone, but with like an experienced chef. They take the recipe and they make it even better with the ingredients that they already have. Like they just twist it a little bit. They know what to do, but just to put their own spin on it. And that's what they have done. When in relation to some of the previous albums, I feel like this one has a bit more speed and edge to it, which I like. There's still like a ton of groove laced throughout the album as well. 35-minute runtime too, so it's like super easy to be engaged and get in and out of it with all that groove too, which is pretty awesome. And then the vocalist, big boy Chad Green, like he brought the big boy vocals again, and like and the rest of the bandmates too. Like they just brought the tonnage with like disgusting grooves, like that bass tone that like sometimes there'll be moments throughout the album where it's just like instrumentation cuts off like a light switch, and then it's just the bass tone doing like a small little 5-second riff there, and it's just like that tone is like crispy and thick, and it's just like, oh yeah, so good. Like it makes you want to like pucker up, like, you know, like pucker up and squint your eyes. You just make that ooh. Like that's how I felt multiple times. There was a couple of good features on the album too. Like Bog was on there, Machine Head, and I think like if this is a band that you're listening to, then like let's say you're someone who grew up on like Bolt Thrower and Jungle Rot, and you want to listen to some modern era bands like Gatecreeper and Undeath, then these guys are your transition band between the two. And I think having the features from Machine Head and Bog helped bridge that gap a little bit. So I think they're a pretty substantial band in terms of relevancy and just that connectivity in the scene too. So I think it's it's awesome that they're, releasing still bangers and everything like that too, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I know that for some reason these guys get a lot of flack online, but I mean, like, all biases aside, like, you listen to this album and I promise you that you're gonna find some beauty in here. Like, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with this album whatsoever. It's a straight ass beater, front to back. You're gonna get some slower, kind of creepy parts, with the typical Frozen Soul, feeling like you're on the top of the mountain, you're abandoned, Yetis coming behind you, gonna eat you type deal. But it's just like, you can't go wrong with it. It's death metal with a little bit of Frozen flair on it. So
Yeah.
I mean, you check it out if you got the chance to. So pretty awesome.
Yeah, they crush live too.
Man, they're just a big band.
Yeah,
Like, big sound, big boys, and just like thick.
Yeah, so good. Impossible not to headbang to those guys.
Yeah, impossible at the headbang challenge. We'd lose.
Yeah. All right. Next up for me is another insane debut album. This time for a bit more progressive leaning death doom band. These guys are from Vermont. The band is called Ord, with their album Blind in Abyssal Realms. First of all, I was drawn to this album right away from the artwork. The artwork of this album was done and created by the renowned fantasy artist Paolo Girardi. I always get his first name mixed up. It's the perfect example of cover art that's done perfectly because it matches the music and the sound of this band perfectly. It's kind of like the Spiral type artwork, but there's like all these monsters and creatures and stuff in there, and that is what this album embodies, is like a vortex. It sucks you in and it just like holds you there, and it's so good. This band explores cosmic and mythological themes in its progressive approach to death doom. I'm not like a huge prog guy, but I'm a huge death doom guy. And when you mix those two elements together, it works really, really well. There's something really psychedelic about this album. There's something very immersive about this album and like hypnotic about it. Like your album, the Defect Designer album, listening to that at the gym. I listened to this album at the gym and it had the opposite effect for me because
I was 10 pounds muscle.
Yeah, I was so like entranced that I was just kind of listening to the music. I was so pulled in and immersed in the music that I was doing all my exercises like seamlessly without thinking. And yeah, I honestly had a great time. This is an album though that I'm not advocating marijuana use, but if you are an avid marijuana user, this album would be the one to play, because yeah, just that's all I'll say. Just play it, you'll be like, holy fuck. It gets, the way it pulls you in like a vortex, you're trapped there until it's finished. And if you had a little buzz going, you were maybe had an edible, by track 2, you're going to be like, whoa,
You're vibing.
oh yeah. There's a couple tracks on this album that have close to a 10-minute runtime, which is a little bit more reminiscent of like progressive or even like doom metal. But it doesn't feel like they're long and drawn out. The songwriting is so good. The guitar is so good. The riffs, oh man, the riffs are so good. They're so catchy and they're like riffs that stick around for a long time in your mind after you listen to them. They're just like so well done. You can just tell that these guys are like really good songwriters. Again, not a huge prog fan, but this album is a masterpiece. And the death doom elements are like chef's kiss. So if you like Blood Incantation, if you like bands like Inter Arma or Mortiferum, Cruciamentium, then this is right up the old alley. So give it a rip. Spark a doob if you're into that, and go on a journey of epic proportions.
Hell yeah. Big and stinky.
Yeah.
That's what you need in life, is big stink.
Yeah, just be a big stink.
A big stinker. Oh, and you know what? This next band, actually his album name is kind of a good segue for Big Stinker. I would call a Big Stinker an unfathomable mutagenic abomination. And that's the name of this album by a 2-man brutal death metal outfit called Infestuous. It's kind of a mini supergroup, if you will. They got members from Dr. Smoke, and then Black Dahlia's in there too. They started this project back in 2009. It like did some material by this, did some research, and they had some material kind of put out then. But then obviously with their main projects, kind of took over, and then kind of revisited back in 2024, and then released this album in this year in April. And I mean, it's just it's a pure riffage is what you're going to get. And annihilation and groove, sparring, no prisoner is a path. So, like, you have been warned before you press play that you're probably going to get beat the fuck up. So, there's, like, a ton of technicality and variety in this album that, like, you enjoy listening to it over and over again, no matter how many times that you spin it. It's not as the same speed as like an Archspire album, but the way that they're technical about their sound is kind of Archspire-esque, but you add like a little bit more brutal death flair in there, and then you have some like more standard breakdowns that are layered with like tons of pinch harmonics and groove, and like the whole time you're just sitting there listening to it with like the biggest smile on your face. Like, you know, it's brutal when it forces you to smile. It's pretty damn good. Another feature that blew me away was like the pure speed and brutality that is showcased in the album too. Like, without having all the notes and the guitars like being comprehensive is like a true feat of musicianship in my opinion. It's not like a wall of sound. Like, you can just pick apart everything, but yet still being technical and brutal. I wouldn't say it's like at the same level of an Origin. I'd say Origin is like top tier when it comes to brutal technical, but like it's pretty damn close. So I wouldn't be surprised if like this is like one of those albums that you listen to multiple times. Like, once you heard it once, it's like easy to get through, like a tight 20-minute runtime, you know, and with like the speed and like the progressive elements that this album encompasses too. It's it'll be kind of one that sticks with you for a long time. So if you need a little more chaos and brutality in your life, then look no further than Infestuous.
Shit, yeah, that album was such a ripper.
Ooh, wanted to heat up some kids.
Fuck yeah. All right, I'm gonna slow it down a little bit again. This is a band from Slovakia. They're called Hrob, with their album Brana Chladu. And this is another banger debut album these Slovaks, all the vocals, like the lyrics, titles of the songs, album, they're all in Slovakian. Hrob is a Slavic word for grave or tomb, and Brana Shladu means gate of cold. And so both the band's name and the title perfectly match the music. Frozen, oppressive, full of dark atmosphere, and it feels like you're trapped inside of like a frozen crypt or something. This is another one of the strongest Death Doom debuts this year in a crowded field of bands, Death Doom bands. These guys, they find a way how to stand out by expanding on that classic sound that Death Doomers come to know and love. But this album is constantly seamlessly shifting between slow, crushing Doom passages with like blast beat driven mid-tempo death metal, but then there's some like mellow death, like melodic death metal guitar work, and then you've got like funeral Doom elements, like funeral paced atmosphere. It's like perfect. If you like bands like Evoken, but then you like bands like Disembowelment, Spectral Voice, like old or early My Dying Bride, then this is like right up the old alley. And if you speak Slovak, well then, you know, even better for you.
You have to listen to it.
Yeah, but then even if you don't, then you can still be like, I don't understand a goddamn word these guys saying anyway, so fuck it. Music rips.
That's usually how it is 95% of the time anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, big Death Doom kick this year for me. So I've been enjoying all the new Death Doom bands and releases this year.
It's just so good. It's like a little niche little pocket that's just, if you do it well, then it's going to be, that's a treat.
Oh yeah,
So
100%.
sick.
All right, we're
getting there. We got
Getting
four
there.
more each.
Let's go.
Okay, I got a straight up death metal band from Tennessee called Piss Rot. They released an album in April called Absolute Form. Now, obviously you can't see it when we're recording here, but like if you couldn't tell from the cover, with like multiple blackened corpses hanging from stakes, then like this is going to be a disgusting album, but like in disgusting in all the right ways. If you're like not audibly saying ew at like some point in each song, then I'm pretty sure you're listening to the album wrong. Like you have to be having some type of revolting feature about it because it's just that gross. I'd say this is a death metal album at its core, but like you'll find elements of grindcore, black metal, old school death metal, and basically everything in between on this album. But it's like covered in like the thickest sludge bath you can think of, and it's just like a work of art. It's so good. Like to me, this feels like if the Frozen Soul album was kind of blackened, crustier, and faster. But like the rhythm and the song structure with like the grindy leads feels like very Frozen Soul-esque. So that's kind of a cool comparison if you wanted to make that like that darker transition. The vocals possess like a super cavernous sound that's like brutal but like unsettling at the same time. And like the mixing of the album is like super good too. Kind of to keep like that crusty edge and like just kind of keeping you on edge, if that makes sense. And then without having the rest of the instrumentation being drowned out either, because I feel like a lot of crust bands, they go for like the wall of sound effect instead of just trying to have each instrument be crustier. So it's a good little blend in that sense. So if you're looking for something that's reminiscent of like Caustic Wound, Tate and Blood, with like some more filth and stank, then this is the album that you're gonna go to next. So jam it into your heels.
Yeah.
Crusty, thick, disgusting, blackened death metal.
Oh yeah, that one was a gnarly one. I love that album.
I pissed in my rot listening to that album.
Who up, piss and they rot.
Yup.
Speaking of disgusting, this is a band from Japan called Pharmacist with their album Vertebrae After Vertebrae. This album came out at the end of May, and it is some savage and disgusting gore grind / death metal. If you like early Carcass and really, really nasty stank face groove and riffs with a little bit more modern production than Carcass, then you'll love this album. You got the classic, real poopy, layered toilet bowl vocals, but like this is just so much more than your standard run-of-the-mill gore grind album. It's very well written, longer than normal song structures for a gore grind band. Really great production, more like groove oriented riffs, and really memorable songwriting, more memorable than their previous stuff, but they really came out swinging with this album. Like rather than focusing on just like non-stop blast beats, this album they focus more on like crushing mid-tempo death metal passages, the heavy groove, and some really nasty swampy stomping and like crawling sections in their music. The slower sections are really awesome because they allow the guitars to kind of like marinate and breathe, which just further increases the brutality when they go back into like the faster parts. But yeah, this is Carcass worship done right, with some like Swedish death metal influences sprinkled in. So best recommendation or best like comparison I could make is like, think Carcass meets Entombed, and you've got Pharmacist. But yeah, didn't have a ton of time to like really dive into this band. This was my first album by them. I saw it come out at the end of May, and I was like, okay, what's this all about? Holy fuck, this is awesome. And I think I had another band that I had before this one, which is more of like a mellow death band that I also enjoyed, but I'm like, one of these bands has got to get chopped. That one's getting chopped. This one's going in. So yeah, really sick.
But just hell of a name too. Like,
Yeah.
I've never thought of Pharmacist as like a death metal band, but
Yeah.
they're just prescribing you all the wrong drugs,
Yeah. All the riffs.
all the sick riffs.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of sick riffs, got a brutal death metal / slam band from the UK called Ingested.
With their album, Denigration.
You should know who these guys are. They've been around the block. And like there's always an album, like I find like in every month there's like an album 2 or like 10 that is just like straight up slam, real death metal, and a lot of them kind of get put away at the side. Don't get me wrong, I'm the same boat as you. I love my brutal death, but some of them start blending in all together. But for some reason this one feels a little bit different to me. I think because they've been around for a while. They've been around since 06, and they're kind of like one of the pioneers in the genre, in my opinion. So like they know what it takes to make a solid album and make it a little bit more creative. So I think that's what really helps their case here. In typical deathcore fashion, though, there was some controversy coming into the album because their vocalist was fired before they released the album, so they had to like re-record all the vocals and stuff like that. I don't think it was distracting too much because the vocals were still sick. And like honestly, it was a top tier performance. It was just like the nasty inhales and the growls and everything like that were just like, it was filthy, everything. The one thing I love about this band and this album was like there was some variety. I'm gonna quote this word here. I'm saying it's the slamidity. There's some variety in the slamidity because you have like some beatdown slam, you have some like grindcore-esque slam, and you got like some melodic slam in there too. Like there's a bunch of different slams going on here, and they're doing it all. And they picked up some big boys for features on this album too. Like they got John Gallagher from Dying Fetus, Damon Teal from Peeling Flesh, and they got Kyle of Body Snatcher. So they're like all the boys who are like putting out some heavy shit. They're like, okay, we want you to be a part of this, and I think it does them well too. And then as I mentioned with Frozen Soul, like having these features with bands that kind of transcend different like different genres as well helps to just bring more people into the genre. And it's good for everyone involved. So they're not reinventing the wheel by any stretch of the imagination because they don't really need to. They know what it takes to make a good album and what needs to make them creative, and having the different types of slam and everything, and it's not just like being a one-trick pony really helps out. But it's just, again, a super fun listen. Can't help but smile. But they know their recipe with 11 herbs and spices, and they're executing it to a T. So, I mean, one of the best out of the last couple months for a reason. So,
hell yeah.
Go and get slammy.
Go get Slam City. Go to Slam City. Take the train to Slam City.
And get slammed. Big slam sandwich.
Slam sandwich. Yeah, that was a fun album too. All right, we're gonna continue down the brutal death train here. This time, these boys are from Indonesia.
Ooh.
It's a band called Vile Desolation with Annihilating the Consciousness. This album also came out in May. Very strong debut album. Very strong. This album is one of the strongest brutal death metal albums of the year, I would say. It sounds very polished and very mature for being a debut album. And these musicians are playing the absolute fuck out of their instruments. From the execution, the songwriting, the musicianship, the commitment to brutal death metal is like shocking to say the least for, their first album. This album was put out on Comatose Music, which is another savagely good brutal death metal label that everybody should check out because they've had some heaters so far this year. Perfect runtime, 30 minutes. This album is violent but highly effective. Perfect for like your get in, get out brutal death record. One thing I can guarantee you is that you're not getting out of this album without whiplash, maybe some glass in your face, maybe some sweat, blood,
a couple teeth knocked.
Yeah. You have absolutely crushing riffs, deep guttural vocals that you come to expect for brutal death metal, and but you also have savage drumming, super relentless guitar playing, memorable song structures, and a really thick and dense atmosphere throughout the whole album. Again, most brutal death metal is like very cold and sterile in its production. Not this album. The underlying atmosphere is very captivating and engaging, and dare I say, beautiful. But it pulls you into its web and keeps you there. And I would say, aside from the insane performance of the instrumentation and the vocals, the vocalist is on another level. Big standout for me on this one is the production. The mix is perfect. Most brutal death metal, again, sounds like a wall of noise, but this album does not. Everything is crisp, clear. You can hear and appreciate every single instrument. It's the perfect balance that these types of bands don't always seem to achieve. Some bands are just fine with it sounding like poop soup, but this is phenomenal in every sense of the word. So check out Vile Desolation. Also check out Comatose Music if you guys are into brutal death metal. Great label and putting out a lot of really great shit this year. So
sick.
Fuck it up.
I think that southern Asian countries, they love their slam down there.
Oh yeah, man. There's some, I can't name them on top of my head, but there's some crazy bands coming out of Indonesia. Especially brutal death, technical death metal, old school death metal.
Even Singapore, I remember, choir always sticks in my brain as being, because Singapore is one of the most buttoned up places you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Can't even chew gum in the streets, and then and then they are just playing the most vile and just heavy shit possible. It's just they need their escape. So
yeah,
it's pretty sick. Okay, 2 more here. We got melodic black slash death metal band from Kentucky here, called Volcandra, and their album Beyond the Will of the Mortals. This is their 3rd full-length album from these boys, and heard of these guys the first time when they went on tour last year with Blindfolded and Led to the Woods. And so I think I recommended one of their albums. I think it was The Way of Ancients, and it was a pretty solid album. So then okay, as soon as I heard they're coming out with a new album this year, I'm like, fuck yeah, kind of having some anticipation for it, and again, pleasantly surprised. The style of music that these guys play is pretty much a fusion of black metal, but then they are more progressive in their sound, adding some more slower and cleaner guitar parts in between the aggressively tremolo pick guitars, but they have the 2 guitar process, where they essentially have the one guitar that's tremolo picking, and then the other guitar is playing a galloping melody kind of over top of it, and prevents kind of staleness, I always find, and they're not doubling down on just the tremolo. And then even some elements where they're implementing some more black and thrash into it too, and it's just, again, adding some spice, adding some variety, so it's just not all like a one note symphony here. So it's pretty fun listen. Each song feels deep and methodical and remains heavy as all get out, in large part due to the vocals, which are dark yet powerful, almost death metal-esque than black metal vocals, which I like. I like that dynamic between the death metal and the black metal, even with the thrashier parts too. It just kind of transcends across multiple subgenres, which is pretty cool. It's not your standard run-of-the-mill metal death album. There's more than meets the eye here, so much more to unpack. I think this is one of those albums you kind of have to listen to it a couple times to pick apart everything that's going on and just to basically appreciate it all. I think I listened to this one at least 3 times. Probably need some more time with it, but still, I don't think anything else I can say will do this album justice. If you like Skeleton Witch, you like Carnusis, obviously, again, I think I mentioned the 3rd time here, Black Dahlia, Like, you're gonna find some elements throughout those 3 bands, and you're gonna find them in this album at some point, one way or another. So go check it out.
Yeah, that was an
Absolutely.
album. I listened to that album like a couple weekends ago when I was doing yard work outside, and it was like a perfect yard work album.
Mm-hmm.
Went on a
Like, it kind of feels uplifting yet darkened
Yeah.
at the same time too.
yeah.
Like, I'm getting pissed off because I gotta put fucking bushes in my yard, kind of moldy grass and clean up leaves and shit.
Yeah.
I hate
I
it.
felt like Zelda going on a quest,
Black and cloak.
chopping bushes. Okay, this is last but not least for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is an absolute Canadian heater / ass beater / ass eater, and that is Vitrified Entity with Imum. And this is an instrumental, big emphasis on the mental, technical death metal opus featuring none other than Alice Samard on the composition and guitars from Quebec, and also featuring a multi-instrumentalist named Eetu Ernesma from Finland, who rips the absolute living fuck out of the fretless bass. You honestly, with this album, it's instrumental, so there's no vocals, obviously, but you honestly don't need vocals for this album, because you don't need it. It's not missing that element at all. At first, when I listened, it was my first time listening to her project, Vitrified Entity, and I was like, oh, there's no vocalist. I'm like, wonder how this is going to be, but it works so well, because like the instruments do all the creative storytelling, they do all the talking. Yeah, if you like tech death bands like, Inferi, Faceless, Spawn of Possession, Retromorphosis, or even the Goat Necrophagist, then you'll love this, because Alice Samard's guitar playing stacks up to any of those guitarist. I don't care what anybody says. She is fucking beast. This is like melodic. It's jazzy. It's brutal. It's bone-crushingly heavy. The bass guitar is super forward in the mix, which adds so much personality to this album. It is like a percussive instrument. And the reason why I love this album so much is because most tech death bands, like the really technical bands, like First Fragment and stuff like that, they play their instruments as if they are like neoclassical exercises rather than actual well-written songs. And it's just like every song, in terms of like modern tech death, it feels like an exercise rather than like, like a song. But this album, I can hear genuine melody underneath all of the technical insanity and like all the layers, which makes for like a highly memorable and replayable listen. It's just, gotta listen to it. The whole time you're just like, holy fuck, can these guys play? Like, it's just like, I imagine seeing them live and just being like in awe, like, holy shit.
What is this? This is like Alice's 4th full-length album of the year so far.
Yeah, like she's
something
put out
crazy.
She's put out everything from brutal death metal, like a brutal death metal album, to like the OE album mentioned previously in the list, which is like slamming brutal death experimental album. She's put out like an atmospheric kind of post black metal album, like so much stuff, and it's all if you were to just listen to it on its own without having that as context, that she is behind all of this stuff, you'd be like, wow, that is like the best brutal death metal album I've ever heard. Or you'd be like, wow, that's the best tech death. Who the fuck is in this band? And then you start being like, Alice Samard, like, who is this person? But yeah, savage, crazy, and Canadian, which is,
How does she sleep?
fucking awesome. Yeah, I don't know.
Just working all the time.
I think she alien. Yeah, but yeah, crazy good album. Vitrified Entity Imam. Album cover is like a mythical dog-like creature, I think. Kind of like cartoonish in its artwork. But gotta listen to it because yeah, it fucks hard. Especially if you're a fan of tech death, yeah, it's really good. And like really impressive for being such an underground release. And yeah, stacks up to the greatest tech death guitarists of all time for sure. So
Give her her flowers. Deserves it.
Yep.
Okay, one more for me. We'll rip through this one. It's you've had a couple from France. This is my only one from France. Progressive tech death band called The Scalar Process and their album Egnomysticism. These guys are the epitome of quality versus quantity because these guys formed in 2016 and they've only released 2 full-length albums since then. So 5 years apart. So we're not getting a new Scalar Process album until 2031 at this rate. But it's just I love progressive tech death because if a band can do it well, it's one of the most engaging and electric subgenres that you can find. And I feel like this is one of those albums for me. Just because there's like plenty of cosmic soundscape that's like layered throughout the album, but like the actual instrumentation kind of pushes and pulls from like ripping solos to blast beats, the extremely tight and synchronized leads to like a slower and like more clean tone finger guitar pick type sections, and then paired with the soundscape, it feels like you're almost floating through space and time without a care in the world. And then until the vocals kick in, and then like you're hit with like the most cavernous and like powerful screams that you hear, and it's just like it brings you back to reality. Essentially, it's one of those kind of transcending, interdimensional type albums that is just, again, if you like to be on the weed and you wanna, kick it a little bit, this is probably one of those albums that would do it for you. I also feel like, again, this is one of those albums that has multiple different purposes, like at the gym, on the road, chilling at home, at a bar mitzvah. Like there's like so many different elements and so many environments you can listen to this album. It's just perfect in like any type of mood, any place, anywhere. It's gonna fit the mood, and you're not gonna be disappointed in the slightest. So you like Fallujah, Zenith Passage, Obscura, Exterminatus, Celestial Scourge, then like this is the band for you, your next favorite band. So I mean, great release, and I'm pretty sure it's a transcending Exurity release too. So just another banger. It's another banger.
Wow, that was quite the list. There's so many other amazing bands that we obviously couldn't cover because there's just too much. But I feel like the creme de la creme was chosen. And yeah, looking forward to talking about what June has to offer when we get there. And yeah, hopefully, I mean, so far so good, I think. And looking forward to some really cool upcoming releases. And as always, if you guys enjoy these bands, support them. Follow them. Like, don't physically stalk them because that's illegal. But check them out on Bandcamp. Buy their digital media. Buy their physical shit. Buy merch.
Buy their merch.
Go to the show. follow them on Instagram, check out what they're doing, you know, all that. Support all these amazing bands. And we will try to continue to, you know, listen and provide good music recommendations. Yeah, it's what we do.
Exactly.
Listen.
Shout them out and give them the flowers.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Till next time,
Stay heavy.
stay hard.
Absolutely.
Peace out.
Peace in the Middle East.